Should we record our intro? I don't think
Definitely.
we did it. Okay.
Definitely. Start it.
Load in the Loop is sponsored by Blackfire.io. I'm Eric Hileman, CEO and co-founder of Mage Mojo Magento Hosting in New York. Purpose of this program is to take some of what we've learned from over 10 years of Magento hosting and evaluate some of our customers' stores, and then share that with our audience, what we find, and hope that it improves their debugging skills and performance skills. And hopefully extension vendors get at us and we can help make the extensions, especially the really popular ones, better for everybody. And I'm here with my co-host, Ivan.
Hello, my name is Ivan. This show for me is a great chance to share my experience that I've accumulated in Magento area for the last 12 years, almost 13 years already. So this is the first time when I've met the guys from Varian. I was in the winter of 2006. So it's almost 13 years since I am in love with Magento and the Magento platform itself. So I run a consultancy business here in the Netherlands. I help merchants big and small to solve their performance issues and the complexities of working with Magento. So tell us, Eric, what kind of customer we have today?
Dude, Kaylin posted a job or a person for Commerce Hero, and they said they had 13 years experience in Magento, and someone replied like, how do you have 13 years experience with Magento? And I guess that's how, from clear back to 2006.
Yeah, so it was something like that. So at that time, Magento was in very, very early stage, even not existing as a code.
This is varying commerce or just pieces.
Yeah. And at that time, it just was a first kind of meetings when the Varian team was first time gathered together in Kiev in one of the cafes. And Varian company was working on a commerce projects at that time. And I was just invited to try and take a look at the team that works over there and get to know people and check if we are a good fit from point of view of possible collaboration as employee-employer relationship. Yeah, let's do a quick recap of the last two episodes, right? So a lot of people were giving feedback already about our show. A lot of people really enjoy it. And I really like that a lot of people actually like to watch us discover performance issues. It's actually raises quite lively discussions on Twitter and in Magento chats and so on.
Some engagement with extension vendors too. So there's been some fixes that were released. I know the latest one you were talking the eBizmarts and working through the config or the cache clearing on production.
Yeah, it's nice that they reacted to it right away. Unfortunately, they didn't read very carefully the description of the issue, because my main concern was not just doing HTTP call, but mainly also storing the configuration value on the front end and flushing the cache. So I hope they will reopen the ticket and will continue working on it.
Yeah,
from the right perspective, because there is no place for changing configuration values. There was recently actually a Twitter thread as well from one of the CTOs of one of the merchants. Let me look it up quickly. Jonathan Ribas. So he recently tweeted about the issue that he had with his Magento stores. This is Zadig and Voltaire. It's one of the showcased stores during Magento Live, and they have this extension called Feed Management from Lengo. And this extension was actually saving some data into configuration table every hour. So they probably have some kind of a cron job, and they probably store some timestamp of the last modified feed or something, or the last modified or the last time the feed was generated. They probably not create own table for this data, but they probably just decide, hey, we're just gonna store it in core config data because we already have it. And they use, of course, for that, they use standard Magento model for saving the configuration values. And not a lot of people know, but this model actually completely wipes out configuration cache. And if it happens every hour, it means that the store under high load, so if you have a Black Friday sale or something, and then every hour during Black Friday sale your configuration cache is gonna get nuked, you will receive a lot of issues, because right now Magento doesn't have the functionality in place for my pull requests that I was doing for configuration cache and logs. And the problem was that Magento right now doesn't actually correctly log the configuration during high concurrency. And at the same time, it has a lot of concurrent processes actually generating cache and blocking FPM pool from processing more requests.
Cache stampede.
Yeah, and the pull request type created actually solves this problem in a very interesting way, because instead of flushing the cache, what I do, first of all, every time when I generate a new cache, I generate it with a new cache prefix. So instead of just deleting a record and writing a new record, it actually keeps the old record still in the system while it generates a new cache, and then it just switches the cache to the new.
That's right. We were talking about that. You mentioned that in the zero downtime deploys when we had some customers where we suspected there was Redis issues and putting a cache prefix into the env.php when they were doing deploys.
This is one thing with redundant deploys. It's actually something that I'm doing now for one of my Magento customers. I built for them some deployment pipeline where every new built artifact is going to have a unique cache prefix. And it means that every single new code version will have a separate Redis cache.
Yeah.
And they will never intersect and they will never overlap. So both code versions can live semantically at the same time as soon as database upgrade is not needed. So this is quite nice for gracefully rolling out new Magento versions in production.
Yeah.
Or, like new functionality and so on. So,
have you had any feedback from Amnesty or Mira Sfeet? Did I say that right? Sfeet?
I think like they never sent me any email. I really liked Anawave, that they were really listening to our feedback, and they even applied a new version. Unfortunately, we didn't have the time to review it yet because we don't have yet the customer with this new version installed. But as soon as we have that customer that we were talking with on the email, you remember, who wants to be on our show, and as soon as we get this customer on our show, then we can actually review this version, because he told that
we should do a recap show where we recap the customers and show the changes that they made, because they've really been helped a lot. They've been pretty happy, and some of the extension vendors are actually communicating and fixing things, which is awesome. So we want to talk to extension vendors. We don't want to just call people out and point out problems. Like, we want to help them fix them and give them advice. So extension vendors, shout out at us. We'll work with you and help you as best we can.
Yeah, and the thing is that a lot of extension vendors, they just probably don't know that those problems even exist, because they never have real data of the real merchants when they actually build extensions. And probably on a small data set, those issues are completely invisible for the extension vendors. Because when you have a small amount of data, everything is fast.
Yeah. Works on my local development. Oh, really? You have all the data in your database, and does it match production? No, probably not.
Yeah, and also I think the same thing should be with Magento core team as well. They also should develop at least on a database with 20,000 products. They should never develop on a database with 100, right? So it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how that MSI release got out with those issues in it. And, we see a lot of issues with cron consumers too. Even when we set them up, we still see issues with them. I don't know. That raises questions that someone else can maybe answer about their automated testing and that's going on for performance regressions.
Yeah, it's probably they have probably some kind of a test, but I don't think that they really test real production like usage, because for instance, a lot of people right now tell that, hey, Magento 1 is much more faster than Magento 2. Kind of yes, because there is less bottlenecks in Magento 1, but there's still some issues exist in Magento 1 that I was dealing for a very long time over my career. And one of the main issues is actually, as soon as you have someone working in the admin panel, Magento 1 becomes really heavy loaded. And what I saw, for instance, from Magento 2 perspective, the new indexation model that was introduced in Magento 2 is much more better from point of view of stability of the website. And if you change a lot of products or you have ERP integrations, Magento 2 is much more better at not breaking down your front end. Because Magento 1, as soon as you have 100 products being imported, at some point Magento might produce some deadlocks or even wipe out complete product list on a category. And yeah, it just happens all the time in Magento 1.
Yeah, my team here, we get into situations where customers they'll have a big traffic event and then they'll be working in the admin and they'll trigger something in the admin that slows performance down. And my team from the back end is like, well, why would you be working in the admin when you just sent out this big email campaign, like leave it alone? But from the merchant perspective, they're like, well, we're watching this sale and we're seeing things that we need to change. Like we want to merchandise. So we want to move this product here. We want to, change the color of that. We want to tweak things as we watch the sales go. And merchants want to do that stuff. So yeah, you have to think about that and enable that.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is that actually there's a lot of nice implementations in Magento 2, especially based on my feedback in 2016. I was giving a lot of talks about indexation and how to build indexers properly. And Magento took a lot of those ideas and implemented actually them in current, most recent Magento versions. So right now, every single index you have writes index when there's a full reindex happening. It's always going to write the data into a separate table, never into the live index. So basically, you never have a situation where you are generating an index and all your products apparently are gone during this process.
Right, yeah.
So right now, Magento switches tables after indexation is done. And this is... I think was a little bit of a win from my side in order to convince them, hey, you need to change the way how you do it.
Yeah, merchants want to work on their store while they have stuff going on. Like you can't, ideally we would say, okay, just queue all your work up for the end of the day and then release it in the middle of the night or something. But that's just not how merchants want to use the store.
But with Magento 2, it's possible. And it's very nice that it's actually possible to do with standard Magento. So you can just set all your indexes into update on schedule. And it doesn't matter how many updates you do, it will not do it in one after each update. It will do it in a scope of batches of products being updated through the index. So there's less rebuilding. Yeah.
We put that into our terms of service. Actually, we're like, okay, you have to set your indexes to update on schedule. We don't actively like probe for it and enforce it. But when people come back to us and they're like, but I need to see my product changes immediately. Like, nah, sorry. Like you can't be running all this traffic and seeing all your changes immediately and stacking all your indexing changes. Like it's just, you can't do that.
Yeah, I think a lot of merchants. So for instance, I had merchants in my career where merchants wanted to see changes immediately from ERP and from PIM. And this is much more harder because the standard ways how you import products and manipulate the data, as well, considering that, for instance, from PIM you also need to download images and you need to set those images properly in a database. It was almost an achievable task, and I just explained to a merchant, if you want to have all your new collection being visible, let's say within a minute, it's not going to be possible because your ERP server gives us very big images that we need to spend time to download those images from ERP or PIM system. So it's always try to explain what actually happens during the process and why sometimes it takes a long time. However, right now, with my experience, if I would have the same customer right now that wanted to have something immediate, I already would have some solution for it. So right now, I do a lot of asynchronous programming, and something that actually a lot of people confuse asynchronous programming with concurrent programming. So asynchronous programming is when you do work on a CPU while you are waiting for some I/O to complete. So let's say you grab something from the network. So you told the operating system, hey, can you please send this data over this socket? And as soon as the data is back, give me an event and tell me that the data is already available and you can process it. So this is the basic idea of asynchronous programming, that during the time while operating system does this stuff over the network, at the same time, I can go on and do other work myself. So for instance, I can ask, hey, can you download 10 images for me? And then these 10 images getting downloaded concurrently because I do sequential start because I have only single thread. But they're downloaded concurrently from point of view that I don't need to wait for each image to download by itself. I can just go on and request another image. And then when the images just are all downloaded, I can just insert records into the database. And this is synchronous programming. And a lot of people confuse asynchronous programming with using message queue, where you just push some message into the message queue and then you have another just synchronous process that receives this message and does standard blocking operations. So this is called not asynchronous programming. It's called more kind of background processing with a lot of concurrent workers. You just queue the same work that you would have done in the main process while processing the request. Comparing just to be able to actually do other work while you wait for other I/O. So we see that. We shouldn't get too deep into it, but we do see that when we look at performance metrics. CPU time will be used, but then we'll look and we'll be like, no, it's just hanging out waiting on I/O wait. Like it's not actually using the core; it's just sitting there waiting, even though it looks like it's in use. So Southco. So I don't think it's live yet. They're still testing it. But yeah, let's just jump into it and see what we find. I'm not familiar with all of the. Okay, so it's like different locks, latches. Okay, so they probably manufacture stuff and maybe even on demand, because as I see, you can download
CAD files
and so on. So interesting. Okay, so let's disable aggregation right away and let's run a profiling. So that was quick. for a homepage, right? Not too bad. Let's see what information database queries will tell us.
I kind of like this design with the the red blueprints in the back. It's kind of neat.
Yeah, it's very nice and yeah. Okay, so we have 1.3 seconds, and probably the actual time is around 800 milliseconds if we do it without Blackfire. I already see some of the problems right away here. If you take a look, you can see sort by sequence, and during the last show, you remember we had one of the extensions accessing module version from configurations that was invoking this sort by sequence method, right? So let's switch right away into the timeline view and see where it happens. Yeah, so here it is. Search form.js, and this is Clever module. So Clever search does some module information fetch in order to know probably which module version is installed. So again, the same thing as we discussed in the previous show. You don't need to use the setup version from XML. You better create a class in your module and update it with every single release with the constant of your module version. Yeah. Just make it easier for Magento. Don't ask it through a configuration retrieval. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, you already know it. Just bump it when you release.
And especially another important thing that a lot of people don't know. When you update this setup version in Magento, Magento is forced to run setup upgrade. So you cannot then deploy without downtime. You cannot deploy a new version of this extension to production. And if your extension, and I can expect that Clevo is an extension that doesn't store anything into the database, I don't think that they have setup upgrades running as a way to modify their schema. And as well in 2.3 there is already declarative schema notation that is available. So it completely doesn't make sense to use this module version as a version of the code, because then it means that with every single code update, you would trigger Magento database upgrade as well. That is completely unnecessary if you don't have any database upgrades.
Yeah.
So please remove from your modules, if you don't have any setup upgrades, please remove from your modules this setup version completely and put a restriction on 2.3 and higher in your code base where this attribute is removed. It will play a very good favor for all the merchants around there that try to reduce their downtime when they release important updates of their stores, because one more less modules that bumps version during code changes in XML file. So this is basically takes 300 millisecond from 1.37, so it's already 1/4 of the load time.
Now, would that be better if they optimized Composer? I tweeted that out. And the link to it, we talked about that last show where Composer wasn't optimized. If Composer is optimized, does that check quicker?
Yeah, not this one. So this one is actually a very slow process because Magento performs a graph sort. So the graph sort, it's a kind of a sort where you don't have a sort order, but you have information, hey, this module goes before this module, but this module goes before that module. So you kind of cannot sort it very efficiently without, doing a lot of redundant operations. So that's why sort by sequence takes so much time. And another thing that is important is that modules get all, it actually loads all the configuration files of all the modules available in the system. So apart from actually slow process, it also eats quite a lot of memory for every single PHP request out there, because this XML needs to be loaded into the memory. And basically, Magento itself doesn't use this module version anywhere in own modules, and it only uses it during a setup upgrade operation, when it needs to check what is the current version defined in XML and what is the current version defined in database table. And if they differ, then it executes an update. So let's see, what else do we have here? Also, everything else seems good. So I don't see something that, stands out here. So main problem here is this Clevo search form.
Cool.
Okay, so they also have Magento Commerce, right, installed. So they're Magento Commerce customers. Okay, let's go.
Products.
Let's go to CMS page. It's interesting because it's the first company that I see that puts into the top menu, the first link is about us. So interesting to profile their about us page. It's very interesting from point of view of the e-commerce store, because I never seen e-commerce store that cares about their brand so much. So it's very nice. And especially our history. Yeah, it looks very nice.
It does.
Beautiful. Good. So let's see what's the result for a homepage. Oh, sorry, not homepage, CMS page. Okay, so yeah, again, probably the same thing. Definitely search form. So yeah, CMS page looks good. Probably not much to optimize. The only thing that is interesting here is actually this one. But this is a standard Magento issue. And this issue, as far as I remember, I was fixing for one of the merchants by adding an override around add attribute to select. So the problem is when, let's say, you try to load a product collection, and inside of this product collection, Magento has small performance issue where if you are not using flat catalog, because it is actually deprecated now in Magento, right? So you shouldn't use flat catalog. And when you follow this practice, when you don't use flat catalog, there is a problem that every single attribute you want to load within a collection gets loaded by Magento separately, instead of doing it through the collection of attributes. So let's say if you have 50 attributes to be loaded in a collection, Magento will load every single of these 50 attributes separately. And then you will see more queries here. So these queries that we see here, are directly a result of that get attribute by code from EAV model. The way, if you'd like to fix it locally in your own project, you can add a plugin around add attribute to select for a product collection, and then just pre-populate the attributes for EAV config by using functionality available over there for population of those attributes. So okay, let's go on into another page, right? Let's go to products. Let's go to the main category called latches. Right, so this is a category of categories as far as I see. So let's profile that.
I never thought there were so many latches. Latches, rotary latches, push to close latches.
You know, all the world is latched on latches. So. Okay, let's see what's going to be the result. Okay, I think we will see the same thing. So here we don't see any load in a loop for categories. So again, the same thing as before. The main contributor is still Clevo. So seems like this merchant put a lot of effort into optimizing the store already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've been working on it.
Yeah, so let's take a look at push to close latches. Okay, this page was loading a little bit slow, so probably there is some complex functionality here. And I already see quite complex page.
Yeah, there's a lot going on that page. Wow.
Yeah, so this is kind of interesting layered navigation style. So let's disable aggregation because I think we're gonna see some database queries here. Oh my goodness. 1750 database queries. Eric.
That's about what I expected. There's a lot going on that page. Like,
and they have so many filters in layered navigation as well, so probably there is also some slow queries too. So let's take a look at the timeline. What's taking the most time on the page? So products, rendering of the products takes 3 seconds. And the biggest time is actually spent on building actually those aggregations you see here. So building the layered navigation is the most consuming task on the product list. So they probably optimized very well. They optimized product list itself, because if you take a look at the product list template, it takes almost nothing. So actually here we can see one of the standard Magento performance bottlenecks, and something that I fix all the time. It's missing cache around the configuration view. So this functionality for configuration view, if you try to access any media attribute of the product, Magento tries to find the configuration values for this attribute for resizing of the image inside of view configuration. And view configuration is located in every single theme, and also can be located in catalog module. So what it does here, it merges all the files together and returns the result, and this result is actually uncached. So Magento never caches information retrieved from this model. And what I do, I just add a plugin usually to this read method that caches the output of the read method into the cache storage, and then we are good to go without this IO call on every single page.
Yeah, we see that a lot, checking image attributes on every call.
Yeah, so the quick fix for that one is just to add the caching on top of it through a plugin. So this is the only problem in product list itself.
There's no extension out there that does that? that caches the...
Not yet. I probably will release it because...
Yeah, you gonna write one?
I have one already that I just installed, but it's not something that I consider an extension that is like makes sense to release as an extension itself, because it's just a couple of lines of code in configuration, a couple of lines of code in PHP files. So not much going on there.
Is that
basically extension with single plugin? So,
can we link that? Do you have like a gist or any links that we could add to the show notes?
I think I will definitely put it on GitHub. So. Okay, so here we have layer view PHTML. Here's some stuff going on. All right. So this is probably some stuff that gets rendered in a loop. And what happens here? It's actually... Does it do any I/O here? Yeah, actually it does 404 milliseconds of I/O, but unfortunately I don't see what kind of I/O operations are happening there. Oh, here it is. Count, 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 count. So there is a lot of count operations for every single filter in order to count the number of products with specific attribute value set. So first of all, what I can advise for this customer, try and use Elasticsearch. So right now this merchant actually using Magento standard MySQL layered navigation that is very, very slow and produces queries like that. And those queries just eat up all of your server resources, because Magento creates a lot of temporary tables. And if you have high concurrency, it may result in a very overloaded MySQL that will constantly bottleneck on I/O, because memory tables are only created in temporary tables are only created in memory if there is enough memory for those memory tables. And when you have too much memory tables, majority of them will just be created on disk. And then every single creation on disk is going to be painfully slow. So, what is print arguments? I never seen this one.
No, me either.
And it's like 27 times. So. Weird one. So definitely they need to look what it is. And as usual, I see the standard issues here. Product category gets loaded 51 times on a page. So I think for every single... Oh, wait, it's Magento Commerce, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's a standard problem of Magento Commerce. In Magento Commerce, catalog events are adding some observers on product collection loads, and it tries to find the appropriate catalog event for a product in order to show, this countdown timers to tell, hey, you have this special offer. So the easiest fix to remove all these queries related to catalog event and categories is actually disable catalog events or fix a module itself. So fixing a module is much more harder. Disabling catalog events, if you don't use them, is much more easier, right? So if the customer doesn't use catalog events, disable it. Another one is a standard problem with cache tagging that Magento has when you have varnish enabled. So we've seen this on the previous episode, and we also seen it in Scriptco as well. So this is an issue that it's possible to fix by disabling original plugins and creating just simple one. Probably I'm going to release this module as open source that specifically fixes this huge performance bottleneck, because this is like 160 queries where you have a lot of products. So every single product that is shown on a page gets this query executed. That's completely not needed. Here we have, again, attributes. And this time it's even worse because it's 160 attributes. And 160 attributes, yeah, it's a lot. So it's probably all the filters, everything. So that's what I was talking about, that Magento has this bug in collection where Magento doesn't preload attributes as a list, but Magento just decides, hey, I'm just gonna, I just gonna take all the attributes I know about, and I will take this list and I will add attribute one by one instead of asking a AAV model to preload a list of those attributes. So this could have been avoided by using a list of attributes instead of using a single attribute itself. So this is completely redundant. Another thing is MSI. So we see MSI adds around it's like 500 database queries, right? Something like that. Maybe closer to 600, but yeah, this is quite a lot of them, and I think
hard on the database.
Yeah, it's hard on the database. Yeah, 1,700 database queries. It's a lot. So.
Especially if you're trying to use query cache, you're generating, you're going to lock it and you're going to blow through it. So many different queries.
Yeah. So
do you find yourself disabling or enabling query cache more? Like which do you do more often?
There was a story that MySQL team actually were planning to disable query cache by default on every single MySQL install.
They did. It was 5.6, I think it was. It's disabled by default.
They were planning to disable it, but they received the community backslash because a lot of people had been relying on query cache being enabled by default. So.
In some instances,
they suggest to actually disable it, and a lot of people tell that query cache itself need to live closer to the applications than to the database server, because applications knows much more better which queries needs to be flashed compared to the database server, because database server is dumb, and a database server cannot know if on this query update you need to flash a cache for this table, because query cache is very simple. It caches per table, and if you have any update query to that table is going to be flashed. And I think you
lock on it.
Yeah, and you lock on it as well. And just increasing query cache actually produces more performance issues.
Makes it worse. The bigger it is, the worse it is. We see some stores, they won't run without it. They're just hot garbage, and you turn it on and they're okay. And other stores, you turn it on and they lock on it and it gets really bad. It seems to just be a case by case. The issue that we have is when a customer starts out, we start out with it off, and it's one of the things we'll try to get a performance improvement. And if we find that, it's hard to explain that to customers, because a lot of times they'll think, well, that's a server misconfiguration. And we say, no, it's one of those things. You just need to keep an eye on it, and say it helps some customers, it hurts others, and it may be helping you for 6 months, and then suddenly it starts to hurt you and it needs disabled. It's not a misconfiguration. It's just a tuning thing that you need to monitor and change.
Yeah, and if you write optimized queries without query cache, they even run faster. So it's some of the interesting things to consider. Also, I had some good experience with proxy SQL.
Yeah.
Have you tried this?
We did. On our first version of Stratus, we were using Aurora, and we set up proxy SQL in front of all the Magento stores. So everybody had proxy SQL on the container, and we split the reads and writes. So the writes were going to the Aurora writer, and then the reads were out over the read replicas. And we even rewrote queries in it. So we would see like, this is a common, what we call a garbage query, and we would rewrite them on the fly. We really liked it.
Proxy SQL is actually quite a powerful tool, but in general, it's good for putting, caching of the queries, because you can selectively configure which queries you want to cache.
Yeah,
and
that too.
You can run proxy SQL right next to your PHP FPM.
Yeah, it pulls connections too. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can really do a lot of nice things with proxy SQL. I really like it, but in my opinion, like proxy SQL should be the last resort, where you really need to scale your application.
Right.
In general, you just need to optimize that terrible piece of code that exists in your application that produces terrible queries 1,000-something times.
1,000 queries.
Yeah,
for a single page.
So here we have another abuser. This is some kind of decup, category view model, category get category. So category being loaded one by one, and then there is also some something sorted. I see there is some stuff happening. So category, top category template. You see, this one, this top category functionality. Probably decup, it's just some kind of custom functionality, yeah. So the view model. Yeah, basically it just loads every single category it tries to access. So this is probably some kind of top categories filter or slider. Oh, probably this one.
Yeah, right? That one.
So probably this top categories, it's actually the categories on top.
Yeah.
So this thing loads every single category in order to load the category image and category name and link. It just loads every single category separately. So what should have been done here, just grab those list of category IDs, load category collection through repository, just get list of categories with needed attributes you have to access. So no need to specify every single category separately by using repository. It just waste of resources. Yeah, so this thing produces a lot of database queries and very slow. The rendering of the product itself are not slow, because majority of products I see that they present in their catalog are actually just simple products. So there's no configurable products itself, nothing fancy going on here. Majority of all of their configuration actually is happening here in alert navigation. So every single field here you see is producing quite a lot of unnecessary database queries, and yeah, that's why we see a result like that. Also, their memory usage is going very close to 100 megabytes, and it means that on some pages it can be even more because of all of the categories that they load and so on. So it definitely makes sense to one thing, switch to Elasticsearch. Another thing, probably they also will have performance issues with Elasticsearch as well, because if you have that many filters, you need to rewrite a little bit Elasticsearch implementation in order to reduce number of HTTP calls as well, because Elasticsearch has some performance issues too. But for majority of the merchants, it's the normal out-of-the-box solutions that works much more better than everything else out there available. By the way, I'm actually planning to write alert navigation still. That's gonna be open source and for everyone. That's gonna use Manticore and gonna do much more faster filters. So we just recently had some communication on Twitter, and I was writing for Magento 1. I was writing before a Sphinx implementation, and I was able to get 200 milliseconds average response time on quite heavy category page by using Sphinx. But I was really building Sphinx in a very specific way. So I was utilizing most of the features that you can use in Sphinx in order to get the fast result sets back.
Is Manticore based on Sphinx?
Yeah, it's a fork of Sphinx. So
okay.
Because Sphinx, the developer from Russia who was original maintainer of Sphinx, he decided, hey, I'm not gonna make it anymore open source. Not in the true sense of open source. So he still provides binaries for free, but you can't see the code behind those binaries. So that's why I consider it not open source anymore, right? Because you can't see what's behind the binary code of Sphinx Search since version 3.0. So 3.0 was the version where he stopped publicly developing it on any public source control. So that's when Manticore was born, when he decided to stop it. And the guy from Romania, he actually was also one of the maintainers of Sphinx project. And he decided to abandon this project and start his own called Manticore. And now Manticore is actually used by the big companies that was using before Sphinx. So before, let's say, Craigslist was using Sphinx, Airbnb was using Sphinx. Now you can imagine that, they're using Manticore. So if you take a look at Manticore search.
Yeah. Let's see, they have a Docker container.
Yeah, they have a Docker container, and basically it's drop-in replacement for Sphinx. So the Sphinx 2.2 something configurations will still gonna work with Manticore without any issues. And cool. You can see all the companies. So for instance, Craigslist using Manticore. I don't see actually Azron, but yeah, in general, Sphinx is less open than Manticore, and Manticore is doing a lot of things that Sphinx was not doing. So it's really focuses on community, and all the process is much more open. Documentation is much more better than original one for Sphinx.
Now, why go with a Sphinx-based solution instead of Elasticsearch, which seems to be where everybody else is headed? Yeah,
so basically Elasticsearch is built on the premise of everything through HTTP API. And Manticore search is kind of a single binary that you can just install on your server alongside with your FPM. You don't need Java runtime. You don't need to have a lot of memory on your server in order to run this solution. So it's kind of let's put it this way. So Elasticsearch is like a muscle car, right? So it drives fast,
but in a straight line.
Yeah, in a straight line, and it eats a lot of fuel, right? So it consumes a lot of resources.
Yeah.
And Manticore is more kind of very optimized supercar that even probably drives on electricity, not on the gasoline. So it's completely different approach. And Manticore also speaks MySQL protocol, so you can access it through a MySQL protocol and run queries like you would do with MySQL, but it will be against a search database, not against as a system. Also, another nice thing that I was playing around, you actually can build a complete Manticore search index in a file system targz these files and deploy it into another server. So if you compare it to, let's say, Elasticsearch, in Elasticsearch you have a cluster that scales, but in Manticore there is a different approach. Every single node of Manticore cluster can be actually independent completely. So you can just targz index files, and you can start in a new instance quite fast. So basically, if you have your search, you can actually bring this search server very close to the end user. So let's say if you want to speed up layered navigation, you can build an API right next to your customer, let's say in Europe, that will receive those files on a daily basis. Let's say once an hour we'll receive a fresh product database. And then you just have very fast search in that region without, customer overloading your main servers for browsing the product. So
it's pretty neat.
Yeah. And it's completely independent, so it doesn't require from you anything on the server. So you can just unpack a binary, and that's all.
Yeah, Elasticsearch is a massive memory hog. We see that in so many customers. It just balloons to multi-gigabyte sizes, and
they have very good marketing team.
Yeah,
you have to give it to them.
We're not fans of Elasticsearch. We were like 3 years ago or more, and we've done a lot with it, and we're just like, nah, this isn't. We quickly saw like, okay, this has a lot of issues and a lot of things we don't like about it, and it seems like people are just now catching on to it and really liking it. But I don't know. I think it's kind of ugly.
It's based on the Scene API, so and the Scene API is not something that so there's a lot of products based on the Scene API, right? You have Solar, you have Elasticsearch, and a lot of those solutions, they are just a little bit slow. If you consider it, and maybe for the cloud it's good because you don't care much about your resources when you can just buy more.
Yeah, those are expensive. Cloud is expensive, man. Make no mistakes, it is expensive.
Yeah, but I mean, like, majority of developers consider that
true. Yeah,
you can just buy more memory or spin up another node, or and a lot of people, instead of optimizing the code, they think about, hey, we are gonna just make it easy to scale our application by introducing as many as possible horizontally scalable nodes, but you still blow your costs a lot without optimizing the actual application. And I think this one everyone will like what I will build, because it's gonna have a lot of features that standard Magento doesn't have and will probably never have, because you would be able to create rules for even exporting. When you export something into the search engine, you'll be able to generate virtual attributes on the fly. So if you have dimensions of the product, you would be able to generate ranges of those dimensions and so on. Do
you have time to build something like this? Sounds like it's time consuming. You have a lot of existing experience in it, so you can springboard from that, but still sounds like a big commitment.
Yeah, it's a big commitment, and don't expect it's going to be built beginning next year. So it's going to be long open source projects, but I think I'm going to do it publicly, every single iteration, with every single small step. And basically it's going to be not based around UI, it's going to be based around interfaces and service contracts. So basically the service itself is going to be even probably not containing configuration and database at the first stage. It will just be configured through PHP objects, and you'll be able to build your configurations by creating objects at the first glance, but then you would be able to store this data somewhere as well, and will get those PHP objects from somewhere else, and then you will get the configuration as well. So it's not that hard to integrate Manticore. The hardest part is actually export the data. And for Magento 1, when I was building my Sphinx solution for Magento 1, I was able to actually write a very sophisticated exporter that would export 20,000 of products within 7 seconds or something like that. So it was
darn.
Sorry?
I said darn. That's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's
try not to swear because YouTube takes us down.
Yeah. It's good, yeah. They don't take us down. They just mark it as a restricted video as soon as you
mark
put
it as
some
restricted.
Yeah. So people without a YouTube account would not be able to see thumbnails and so on. But if you have an account and if you turned on restriction mode as well, you won't be able to see it as well. So
yeah. Okay.
But it's not a big problem, I think, as soon as we don't swear on the show.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so a little bit off topic. Let's go probably to a product page. So for this customer...
This is a top category. Do you want to go to...
This is actually a category with products. So I think it's a final level category. They have a lot of products here, right? So they have 340 products. And layered navigation is killing it. Layered navigation, this top block here. Yeah, so
Elasticsearch for them would be a good thing to do.
Yeah, and there could be some issues with Elasticsearch too, because as far as I remember, there is some limitations as well on number of filters you have, because they have a lot of filters as for standard Magento shop, right?
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, so and the problem why it's slow right now, because Magento, for every single filter, Magento executes a separate query in order to calculate aggregates.
How many products are in each one?
Yeah, and in order to do so, Magento, as soon as, for instance, just as an example, what is the problem with Magento layered navigation? So if you select a filter, and let's say select a couple of more filters, and let's select also a third filter and the fourth one as well. Let's take a look. For instance, no restriction. So
it's really nice. I mean, as a customer shopping here, like that's a really detailed way to find and drill down to what I need, which is such a
I can imagine for latches it's very important. So
yeah, it's cool.
So let's profile the page that I've selected. And you see right now there is no products, right, returned from the website.
My wife said she wants a latch and a box to keep her snacks in because I keep stealing her snacks.
So you like to steal snacks at night or what?
Yeah, but I don't know, man. It's a snack monster. He comes out in the middle of the night and just steals snacks. I don't know.
Okay, so as soon as we don't have products, you see we don't have any more MSI queries. Right?
Okay.
But we have plenty of other. Yeah, but we have plenty of other queries. And those other queries are actually related to the temporary tables. So every single search field, they also have a master shop by, but seems like it's not the biggest contributor here. So here, every single selected filter results in temporary table. So let's go. Do we have one more temporary table? Somewhere it should be as well. Yeah, strange, I don't see it. Could be possible. Yeah, because Magento on every stage it usually creates a temporary table, or possible that they just do it here only in 2 tables, but then they probably narrow down somehow result. Yeah, let's see. Insert into. So insert into one query. Okay, not bad. At least here it's not that bad as I thought. Okay, here is a problem, I think. Here, so you see every single query here. First of all, it leads to the dead results. So if you take a look here, they have probably configurations that when you choose a filter, it doesn't update other filters as well. So there's high probability that, for instance, when I choose something, I will land on a page that will tell me that I don't have any results. Because you can choose, yeah, so it's not standard layered navigation, it's just navigation that allows you to choose options. And those counts doesn't reflect the current selected filters.
Oh, and we saw shot by in Blackfire, but this isn't shot by. Isn't shot by? Because if shot by was being used, it would be causing a lot more performance problems. So it's like there, but not doing anything.
Maybe it's even shot by. So let's see. Oh, it's not that one, or it's that one. Yeah, here it is. So here is the page itself.
Maybe have some Neutrino modules.
Popular search category. Can show block for navigation. Availability flag.
Oh, it's part of the well pixel theme, maybe.
No, it looks like a standard filter, because this queries looks like, yeah, for every filter it just does this query. So unfortunately, actually I had a call last week with Blackfire, and they showed me a very cool feature that I can find by the query. If I just copy a query in call stack here, I can actually just type this query in. Okay, seems like it doesn't work.
It's obfuscated because it's obfuscated, or
yeah, seems like. Yeah, so it probably looks by the actual query. Okay, so let's just disable this obfuscation mode, right? And we can do it by using enable debugging mode. So what it does, it will preserve every single query as is. And in this mode, I think I can search by query in the call stack.
That's pretty cool.
And Mage module already has Sphinx available out of the box on your servers, right?
Yeah, we do. Sphinx and Elasticsearch. No Solar though. Don't see very few, if any, M2 stores using Solar.
Yeah, so Solar is very niche market. For Magento 1, actually Solar was an enterprise search module. Okay, this is kind of crazy.
Yeah, I Googled that, man. I couldn't find any results for it. Like nothing came up.
I just don't understand it. Oh. Too much trace.
Oh, okay.
My Chrome just dying on 32 gig desktop.
Wow.
Okay. Probably next time, okay?
Yeah, next time.
It just gonna kill my PC if I'm gonna continue. So, okay, let's go into some product page, shall we?
Yeah.
So definitely here it makes sense to refactor alert navigation and rethink maybe a little bit even structure. So here is the product page, and let's run a profiler here. Let's disable aggregation. So I already see it's quite fast. So
did you ask them about saving that disable aggregation preference so it's always checked?
Yeah. I already did it, and they really like the idea to add it as a user preference.
Cool.
So you could choose it on your account level just to disable it by default, because for Magento developers it makes sense, because unfortunately Magento is not as fast to run 10 iterations. So let's see. There is 500 database queries. Probably all of them are MSI database queries. Yeah, and as well, the interesting Magento problem. You see 101 query related to attribute options. I was given back in 2000. Damn, I already forgot what year it was. I was given a talk about making your Magento fly like a rocket, or something like that. I was giving a talk in a lot of conferences. And one of the main thing I was talking about a lot is attribute options. So when you are on a product page, you have this block called additional attributes. And in this additional attributes block, like for instance here, you see specifications.
Yeah.
Every single attribute that is used here loads options separately. So if you have a drop-down attribute, Magento will load options for this attribute separately. And more interesting thing, this is only attributes with selected options, but Magento loads it for every single attribute assigned to this attribute set of the product. So if product has more attributes with drop-down values, Magento will load for every of those attributes, it will load attribute options. And what should have been done on the product page itself is that you don't load it for on attribute level, but you actually do it for attribute options. So if you have an option attribute, you just collect all the values of options within this product, and then by this option IDs, you just load those options in one database query instead of doing it for every single attribute. Load all the options, And then Magento as well, apart from that Magento loads those options, Magento also iterates through array of options of every single attribute in order to find the right option by ID. And this is a slow operation as well, because it's kind of like a brute force search instead of, just doing a quick lookup in already available data by hash map. So I was already building optimizations for Magento 1 that do this kind of preloading, and it drops dramatically pages on the customer web stores where you have a lot of attributes. Because again, we were talking about performance testing, and majority of Magento developers, they never test their solution on more than, let's say, 10 or 15 attributes being visible on the front end. However, this customer, we already saw, they use 160 attributes as filterable attributes on category page. And right now I also see that they are also using 111 attributes on a product page as well. So all those attributes are loading all of the options available in the database.
So is there anything this customer can do to speed that up now? Any easy one?
It's not something that they can install. So they need to write a customization that observes afterload events on collections and on product load, and collects just attribute values for those attributes that needs to be shown. And then by using these attribute values, it's just gonna load the option labels for those attributes. Because basically what this query does, it actually just loads an option value. So the label text that is available here. So when you, let's say, have restriction, no restriction, size series, large size, so there's probably a drop down of sizes. So what Magento does, Magento just loads all the attribute options instead of loading only ones that are visible on the page. And this is produces issues with memory usage, and it also produces issues with an actual performance by number of the database queries and the number of the data that needs to be processed by PHP.
Got it.
So yeah, basically this is how this one can be optimized. And let's see if we can also enable our profile all functionality in Blackfire. And let's add something to the cart. Oh, what did happen?
I don't know. That was weird.
So I got redirected to the main store. Okay, so this is a standard.
Try the buy now again.
I think it just hard-coded to point to the
Yeah, maybe. It's not live yet.
Yeah, so could be possible. Oh yeah, we forgot to mention that we actually, this time, it's the first time we review development version of Magento Store, not the actual live instance.
Right, yeah.
Oh, and they're probably on the same instance. You see, I can also see a profile from the live instance as well.
Yeah, they probably are.
And this customer actually has a lot of HTTP requests. Let's take a look at them. What's happening there? Oof. Product labels.
On an Ajax call?
Too much Ajax calls.
Live chat. That we had a customer yesterday. They wrote in, my store's slow. What's going on? And then we trace it back, and it turns out their IT guy installed a live chat on it, and it was pulling all the product and cart and data like every 30 seconds, and then pinging it like every second, and just hundreds of thousands of hits from.
Yeah, this is seems like the same. So we all know that Magento has already an issue with customer section load functionality, right?
Yeah.
And this customer section load functionality is something that produces a lot of top requests. I think in this customer case, you will see in New Relic one of the top URLs related to live chat.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is probably, let's just, for the sake of experiment, let's go to the homepage. And let's enable here profile all requests, right? Look. It's already triggered a request. So let me go to a category page. And bunch of more requests, right? So we already see that customer section load, of course, happening, but also get visitor, get cart, get cart,
Yep.
get visitor. Yeah, it doesn't make sense, like it just, I don't have anything in cart.
No, it's real-time metrics for the people who are watching the cart, and it'll just crush sites.
Yeah, so don't know what this live chat plugin, who wrote this plugin, but
I don't know. We see a lot of them doing that.
Yeah, but it's powered by live chat, so live chat is live chat. So, and this is probably an extension available on the market probably as well. So they just decide, hey, we're just gonna make an AJAX call. It doesn't matter what you do. So what they should have done, actually, put some wrappers around customer section load data, because customer section load already contains shopping cart, customer information, any additional information about the visitor as well you can obtain through the customer section load as well. You don't need to do any calls separately. You can just request this data from customer section load. It's just redundant endpoint.
The common theme that I keep seeing each week is that all these extensions are operating independently, and they don't really think about what's going on in the whole as a whole on the site. Like they're just like, oh, I need to get this, so I'm just going to go get this, and not thinking like, oh, does this already exist and I can hook into it?
Do you see this one?
What can you help with today? Oh, wait, what was? Oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
We'll have to report that.
So
yeah, well,
and if you scroll down on the page, you already don't see your drop down. So if you are deep into the page, right? If you are deep into the product, you click on live chat.
See it.
Oh, now apparently
it works.
but if you move here,
yeah. Oh, now that's weird. Oh.
Custom select elements. They're always funny. Probably because they use some kind of div wrapper that actually copies the elements and then just puts absolute markup on click or something like that. So, but this, as I understand, this chat box is actually something that is not hosted on Magento side. It's probably some kind of JavaScript, some JavaScript on a third-party server from live chat.
Yes, yeah.
So
and then what must be calling back to live chat then and sending that cart data back to your master account so you can see it in your view. The idea being like I'm the store owner and I'm chatting with this customer and I can see what items are in their cart and what pages they visited, and so I guess it's sending it back.
I think the best way to do this. I saw a very nice store, not Magento store. I think it's Blue Order. Music. Right? Is it? No. Which is popular? I think it is. No. Music. Instruments or oh my god, and goodness, yeah.
Were you searching for some audio equipment?
Oh, I had a customer who had this store as a competitor, and I'm just trying to find the name of the store. But there was a very nice feature. You actually, on the page, you receive, like here, you can just receive some kind of unique quote identifier. So you can have a string, which you can tell to support representative, hey, here is my quote identifier or visitor identifier.
Right.
And then by this visitor identifier, person can actually look it up, information about your purchase or how you actually, or help you with the purchase as well, just by log as you. But it doesn't require, let's say, sending your cart information to some third-party servers.
Every time, whether you care or not.
Yeah.
Like, you're not even using the chat and it's getting all that stuff and sending it. Like, yeah.
Because I think there's a couple of GDPR violations here happening when you send this kind of information to a live chat.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, so...
Do they have any GDPR thing on their site? I didn't see any click here to accept these cookies stuff.
I think they... wait.
Oh, because you selected okay.
If I go into European region, do I see? No, I don't see even cookie notice. So probably it's a niche market, but yeah, they need to comply with GDPR anyway, because otherwise.
Yeah, we'll send that along to them. Then maybe something's we don't see it or whatever. Okay. Yeah, so I think we looked at all the pages. The add to cart couldn't do because they must not be set up yet. It's not live. What were the big things that we found? I mean, overall, it was pretty good site, I think.
Yeah, except category page and product page. But in product page, there is a standard problem with Magento, as I said, about attributes. So attribute and options, a lot of database queries, also MSI. Again, and these customers probably using MSI because they sell internationally and they probably have different warehouses and dispatch locations.
Yeah,
so
probably.
They definitely use this functionality. So they actually need to fix MSI itself to reduce those database queries. They can start with applying the patches we were talking last time.
Yeah, we can link those up again, and then
remove current layered navigation implementation with something better, like Elasticsearch.
Elasticsearch. You mentioned you had some code laying around for the category page caching attributes. I think we were talking about like the image attributes in particular.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna put it on GitHub.
Okay, cool.
But this is very minor. Like, it's the last thing that you optimize, because a majority of other stuff is actually solved on the page.
They've been working hard on it. I know from our support conversations.
Yeah, I understand they're working hard on it, but I mean, the problem lies in a lot of attributes, and this a lot of attributes is not just fixing your custom code, but it's there's also a problem with the custom code, as we saw. This top categories block, right, and categories that can be fixed. And apart from that, there is this layered navigation filters that needs to be replaced with something more sophisticated. Also, they can just take a look at the Manticore or Sphinx and also export data over there and just work with it, because Sphinx is very good with a lot of attributes. Like, you can really send to Sphinx, you can send a single query, and you can get all the aggregates for your current search results with one query. Really, so it's kind of very fast. So I will just show you an example on one of the stores I was working in Magento 1 era. So there is this fashionista.com store. And this website, they are using Sphinx as a search solution for them. So right now, all these filters, they're coming from Sphinx. And you can really select multiple filters. You can really easily filter about it. Discount attribute is actually something that is very interesting. You see this one?
Yeah. Does it show you how many results you? Oh yeah, there it is, 298. Okay.
Yeah. So they don't show count, but I have in this extension, I have actually possibility to show the counts as well. But it only shows you an option that is available to choose.
So you built this then for M1, and you're kind of like going to rebuild it for M2?
Yes. And basically, you see here, they also have information about available sizes on a product level. And all this page with this amount of products is generated within 800 milliseconds. So
yeah, that's pretty smooth.
Yeah, so this is just Sphinx, and Sphinx itself is something. So choosing all these filters and receiving all the possible options for these filters is done through a single Sphinx query. So Sphinx gives me already back all these results. And what is well good about it, so for instance, Prada shoe as well, yeah. Sphinx is powering quick search for them as well.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, we'll have to, on the server end of it, we'll have to check their MySQL temp table utilization and see maybe we need to increase their temp table memory, available memory for that. Okay.
Yeah, so
final thoughts?
Final thoughts, just fix your category page, because category page is the biggest pain point, I think, in this project.
And screw live chat. Any live chat. Live chat suck.
They don't suck if they don't call Magento backend,
Right, yeah, for everything, every time, right?
Yeah, so try to find some kind of smart solution. If you need to get some information about the customer, just supply some kind of unique identifier and set it to live chat. Don't do it with the actual data of the customer, and then your support representative can pick up then this identifier and look it up what actually is in a customer session.
Yep. Well, cool, man. So extension providers, get at us. You can find us on Twitter, and we'll link that up, and you can email us. And then if anybody has any stores they want reviewed, let us know. Shout out at us, send us an email. We'll work with you to get a copy over here and go through it. Yvonne, do you have anything to add before we wrap it up?
Yeah, use profilers, use Blackfire. Blackfire is cool.
Yeah, it is cool. It is cool. We've learned a lot, and they're listening. So you had a call with them recently, right? Like you were talking about the disable aggregation preference, and they added a new feature.
We were talking a lot about actually improving Blackfire UI for specific application profiling for Magento, because they were really surprised that actually I use timeline much more than all the other features of Blackfire.
Yeah.
And yes, it's just because with Blackfire, with timeline, it's much more easier to spot the actual source of the problem comparing to other tools that are available, because through the call graph, it's harder to navigate if you just don't know where to begin with. So
I agree.
And in timeline, you have everything in one place, and it's just easier to spot a potential performance issue.
Yeah, it's very cool. I had used Blackfire in the past, and I really didn't get it, to be honest. And then you came back and you were using it and suggested it, and then you started showing me the timeline view, and I was like, oh, okay, I get it now. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, comparing, let's say, to New Relic. So in New Relic, you can spot an issues, right, in production that you didn't, let's say, profile yourself. So you can take a look at the traces of slow transactions. But the problem with New Relic, you don't have the same kind of view as you have with Blackfire. So like you can spot, hey, in this case, this page becomes slow. So probably you have to run a Blackfire profile for that specific page that is slow and find out what actually goes wrong there, because New Relic is good at showing you, hey, there's this database queries that are executed this much times, but it doesn't show you the actual rendered timeline of the whole stack trace. And
sequence of events, what called it, and it's hard to find.
And also for the reasons of performance, New Relic, I think, doesn't also capture the whole stack trace. So it only captures the slow calls, and then a lot of information is lost.
Truncated, yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of important information is actually lies in the details, like, for instance, number of database queries and where those queries has been executed.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, cool. Well, thanks for everybody who made it this far, and we'll see you next episode.
Yeah, we wanted to keep it 45 minutes, but we actually kept it 1 hour and 45
minutes. Classic.
Yeah.